Thank you all for coming to our Voices of Homelessness event, where we have both storytelling and an art display over to your left. My name is Amanda Carlisle. I'm the director of the Washtenaw Housing Alliance, and I want to thank you all very much for taking time out of your day, your evening, to spend with us tonight. I think you'll really enjoy the stories and the people here who have to share their stories about experiencing homelessness or housing instability in our community in Washtenaw County. Before I turn it over to them, I do want to give you a few announcements. First, and thank yous. First, thank you to our speakers, our artists, and all of you for attending. Thanks to Cultivate Coffee and Tap House in Ypsilanti. They've donated some of the cider and treats. Chris Stranad, photography. Charlie Steen for video. Willis Sound for providing our audio. And then Ypsilanti Freight House for providing our space tonight. We also want to say thank you to all the agencies that are here, representing the agencies that are serving folks who are homeless or housing insecure in our community. And so to your right, over in the corner over here, you'll see that there are folks, give a big wave, that have tables set up to tell you a little bit more about their agencies and what they do in the community, and to help you if you have any questions about services that are provided in the community. So thank you again. And we also, again, I want you to make sure that you all know there's artwork here for purchase if you'd like, or just to look at. It's beautiful artwork by many of the folks in this room. Excuse me. Okay. So also want to thank Shelter Association of Washtenaw County, SOC, for providing planning and collaboration on this event. Ozone House, Avalon Housing, Michigan Ability Partners, Ground Cover News, Michigan Movement, SOS Community Services, Unified, Washtenaw County Community Mental Health, and the Project Outreach Team. And all of those agencies are either here tonight represented or helped in the planning of this event. So please, let's give a big round of applause for the agencies here and the speakers here tonight. I do just want to turn it over for 1 minute to Sarah Paspel from the Shelter Association of Washtenaw County to talk more about all of the events happening this week during Homeless and Hunger Awareness.
Thank you, Amanda, and again, thank you everybody for being here. Heather Nash, wave over here. And then Emmeline Weinert, where are you, Emmeline? They work tirelessly to get all of you here and sending out emails and notices throughout the community. You know, I had this vision for Hunger and Homeless Awareness Week to be a week full of activities. This is a national initiative and one that we haven't really taken advantage of here in Washtenaw County, but because of you, you're making that vision come to light. So give yourselves a round of applause. So I had a chance to pass out some flyers to all of you, and that's really what this is about. All the different activities that we have planned. It's a little bit of something for everyone. So you're here kicking off the very first event. We've got Us and Them, a documentary playing at Zion Church on Sunday. All the events that you see here are on our website, www.annarborshelter.org. We've got a great fun challenge coming up. It's our Stand Up, Stand Out challenge. This is where we really need your help. And maybe this isn't speaking to you right now, but you know someone that is a community activist or somebody that likes to go out and give back. We're just looking to raise some friends on November 14th. We've got a 60-minute challenge where we're asking people to join us in the streets of downtown Ann Arbor, walking up to individuals that look much like yourselves and saying, hey, did you know there's about 5,000 homeless people in Washtenaw County? There are many shelters and services to help people. Give them a pamphlet with some of the websites on it so they can learn more information. Sharing simple facts, holding up signs, having people that you talk to and friend raise, holding up signs to say, I could be your neighbor, I could be your sister. 25% of the homeless population was homeless as children. Simple things to really educate the community and to get them more involved and more engaged. It is a fundraiser. We're asking you to just spend 60 minutes of your time in a non-threatening way. We're encouraging you to form teams, go with a friend, wear silly outfits, draw attention to yourselves. And this is a social media blitz for us. We want you to take pictures and send them to us so we can share them on our Facebook, so we can all show people that we're coming together as a community to raise awareness about homelessness. And this is drawing attention to us, and hopefully you'll have some ideas. Maybe you decide, you know what, that I can't get together that week, but I want to get more involved. How can I do that? For each of us, the organizations here have many volunteer opportunities. If you would like, just to check out those websites. So again, our Stand Up, Stand Out Challenge, this is my baby. I really want some support and help. So if this is speaking to you or someone that you know, again, share that website with them. We've got some initiatives going on college campuses where we're doing some tent and homeless simulations. You can learn more about that. And then we have a fun fundraiser. It is called Put a Roof on It. This is something that we've done annually. It's a comedy show. And I tell you what, if you join me on the 14th, I will give you a free ticket to that comedy show. But the comedy show itself, again, put a roof on it. Let's come out and have some laughs at the Ann Arbor Comedy Showcase. Again, all that information is on the website. Emmeline, am I missing something? What else should I be talking about? We do have a day of caring, so if you want to put your gloves on and come help us clean the shelter, we'd love to have you out on that day. Am I missing anything else? I think, oh yes, so here's the thing. We pride ourselves on moving someone into sustainable housing every business day, one person. So the Shelter Association, about 250 people a year we help to find sustainable housing. They move into an empty apartment. So while we have resources in the community to get them furniture and things that they need, we all like to clean, we like to have spices in our pantry, so our move out, dine out day is encouraging those kinds of items that you might be willing to donate. A mop, a broom, maybe just some dish towels, some dish soap. Thank you so much for coming. Have a great time tonight.
Sarah's much taller than I am. So the first guest that we have tonight to speak with you is, Robin. Can we? Woohoo! Put it back up for you.
Thank you. How y'all doing? I'm Robin. Oh, look. Can y'all hear me now? Are you sure? Okay. Hi, I'm Robin. I'm originally from Detroit, but I've been all over the place. I've been in Ypsilanti for about 15 years, give or take. Can't bring my memory back right now, but give or take 15 years. I want to share with you guys a little bit about my homeless experience and how that little part of my homeless experience changed a little bit of my life. When I was 12, when I was back up here, we were just recently moving back from Alabama, and we didn't really have much. All I had was my mother, my grandmother, my sister, and myself. And it was really tough because we lost everything down south, our farm, our house, because we didn't have the requirements to keep it. So we had to move. Excuse me, y'all. Kind of a little bit of a touching subject, but it'll pretty much explain why I'm here today. A little bit, not that much. My aunt, she told us that she had enough room for us to move back up here, up north. So we were excited, we were happy. We have a place to stay, we don't have to worry about anything. But when we got there, the one that only had enough room was my grandmother, because she had enough income coming in still every month. Me and my mother and my sister, on the other hand, we couldn't stay in our house. We lived in the broken down van in her backyard. We had no food, mind you. Our clothes were stolen because we had, being part Native American, you have a lot of clothes, we hope to keep it, but when it's valuable to someone else, it gets stolen. So that's something we couldn't control. We didn't have no income coming in for leftover for the farm, but all we had pretty much was each other. We had to go find food by ourselves. And why I remember that part of my life so well, because it kind of put me in the trust issue part, even though it came from my family. That really sucked. She told us that we're gonna be okay, everything's fine, put everything on the phone, everything was cool until we got there. Bed bugs, living inside of a van with no heat, no food, not even the right clothes. I had to sacrifice going to school just to make sure my mom, my sister, and I had to eat. There were even days I sacrificed eating just to make sure my sister, who was 6 years old at the time, could eat. My mom, she was going through a lot of stuff, trying to find a job, and it was hard on her because not really many people were taking her in because of the fact that she did not have the requirements to be somebody. All she had was a bachelor's in English. That's it. So there were times I even was trying to talk to my teachers in school, try to talk to my counselor, but the only thing that was kind of scaring me about that was CPS. I didn't want it to be separated. So my mama didn't raise no food, so I only asked the right questions. I asked the right questions to keep me with my family. Like, it's tough for food, and it's kind of hard to go to school. I ain't got no clothes like that. But I ain't telling them I'm living in a van in my auntie's backyard, but, that's going to be even worse. There were times that we would get bags from our neighbors that had holes in the clothes. And we would wonder why there was why are there so many holes in the clothes? All these bed bugs, nothing we could do about it. But as life goes on, I started getting a little bit of income to get food for us and our family. And we only stayed in that situation for 9 months. I was happy about that because then I ran into the right teacher that said, look, let me help you. I know this didn't come from a fall. I know this didn't come from just a scrape on the face from a door. I know one thing for sure, you need help. So what I take out of that experience, not at the time we got our place, out of 9 months, I was happy. I was so happy about that, y'all. Y'all understand. But when we got out of it, what I took out of it was trust only the ones that actually want to help you. Money can be taken away. You can earn it and get taken away real quick. But the real ones, they stick with you. What I took from that is that even though people will let you down every day, hang on to the ones that actually care about you and keep pushing forward. The ones that don't really care, let them go. It don't matter. Just let them go. Life's too short for little stuff. But I want to get back to my community so that way they don't have to be in the same shoes as I was. So I appreciate y'all listening to my story. Y'all stay blessed.
Thank you, Robin. Next up, we have Zakia and Sakina. Give us a yell.
Can everybody hear me? Yeah. Am I clear? I don't need mics. We don't need things. No. Hello, everyone. Hello. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, good night. Wherever your mind is at, we welcome you to this space. My name is Zakia. I am Sakina, but on stage we like to be referred to as strength and wisdom. Now, before getting started, let's defeat all roaming questions going on through your minds right now. Yes, we are twins. Yes, we are identical. We were born 35 minutes apart. She's older. And we share everything. We're good now? Are we good? Okay. Today personal to us. We hope that you all enjoy listening. It's a piece we created to share our story, and we're very theatrical with our advocacy and work, so therefore we bring to you a piece that we created called Scattered Thoughts. Scattered thoughts. Dad was never home, and that's his fault, but they treated us like we were locked up too, as if we were found guilty for just being alive, but that's just what it is. Isn't it? Scattered thoughts. The things I know. I know what jail sounds like, and I know that the canines there are why I'm so scared of dogs. I know that prisons are the only gated communities that I have ever seen. They even got security. Scattered thoughts. The things I know. Every month the food stamp card declined. It was never enough. Dad was never home, only he's locked up. We were the ones imprisoned by the system, in the system. Scattered thoughts, the things I know. I know that it's hard to get into a homeless shelter unless you got kids. I know that fireworks and gunshots sound the same. I know that it's hard to get Section 8. And then once you get it, you can't let it go until you're fully established, because I know that it's hard to get back. Dad was never home, only he's locked up. But we were the ones imprisoned by the system, in the system. Scattered thoughts, the things I know. I know that they cut food stamps once the eldest child is 18. Or once you make a little more than you used to. I know that in order to keep government assistance, you have to keep up with the new paperwork they give out almost weekly, because Dad was never home. I know that Walmart shoes last a good 2 weeks, but we wore them for months. I know that I teach my brothers not to walk with headphones in their ears, because they always have to be aware of their genetic weapon that threatens, called skin. I know what saving snacks from school tastes like. For dinner, Mama wasn't home. Mama was at work because Dad was never home, and that's his fault. They treated us like we were the ones in prison, so is it his fault? Scattered thoughts, the things I know. Is it his fault that we had to make our bed out of our clothes? Is it his fault we felt like prisoners living in a world where we lived like bored convicts? I know statistically, as a black youth, I'm 4 times more likely to be incarcerated than my white counterparts. They already treat us like criminals, no wonder our peers or parents commit crime. That's check. As a black youth, I look like I've already been incarcerated. Call us juveniles. This Uncle Sam's American dream for the colored kids is a prison cell. No White House or a white picket fence as a white man and a large wire fence. Scattered thoughts, things I know. Our daddy's hands feel like glass. At least that's the only way that we ever felt him. Through a clear glass window. Scattered thoughts, the juveniles with clean records, but when they have records, adult prisons, I know that 58% of African American youth are sentenced to adult prisons. Scattered thoughts, I know that 1 in 3 black men are expected to go to prison within their lifetime. That means 1 in 3 of my brothers, uncles, sons, fathers doesn't anticipate going home. Scattered thoughts, the things I know. Dad was never home. And that's his fault. But they treated us like we were locked up too. As if we were prisoners. The juveniles with clean records. Because Dad was never home. The things I know.
Thank you, ladies. All right, next we have LaShawn. Is she here? Oh, there. Give her a round of applause.
Thank you, everyone, for being here this evening. I'm honored to be here. This is a little bit high for me. I'm honored to be here. I'm honored to be able to share some of my experience and about homelessness. First off, I'm from Detroit, but I've been a resident in Ann Arbor for about 18 years now. Okay. And, well, first of all, the way it began for me, my journey to homeless was there were some things going on in my life, and it involved my children. I've had the experience of how the protective services, some of the agents work, and for me, they weren't trying to build and maintain my family. It seems like all that didn't work out. But as a result, my children ended up in foster care, and 2 of them were abused for 12 years. These people took my children down to North Carolina, and they abused them. They never went to school. A lot of times there is a good in foster care or CPS intervening in people's lives, but it was a nightmare for me and my children. I had never experienced anything like that. I'm a survivor of very violent assaults numerous times. I am a writer. I've always been a writer at heart. I love poetry too. And I will be having a book expected to be released this coming February. And it's It's titled The Fold, a collection of poetry. And I'm glad and I'm happy for the children that these people in services and human services agencies come into their life, and it's a successful thing. But most children that end up in foster care, they never have a stable home. A lot of children end up in this system because people can get locked up and not have a bond. They can be locked up for a parking ticket and have a good job, get locked up, can't pay a bond, so you lose your job, and then after that, things seem to unravel. And if you don't have supports or people around you who are able to financially lift you up, then a lot of things happen. It seems like you lose your job, my children are gone, now I'm trying to do this to satisfy these people to get what was already mine back, should have never been taken. I suffered from mental illness, I believe, for every bit of 20 years, maybe a little longer, not knowing. I suffer from PTSD, I have anxiety, depression, a personality thing, cluster B personality traits, they say, and some other thing. But however, I've learned to take that and build on it and to not become that and become like that almost destroyed me. At one point, I did want to die. I didn't want to feel all the pain and the separation from my children. I began to be reunited with my children. And it's not the same as when your children grow up with you. When you're reunited with your children, they're your children, but you have to learn who your own children are again, because they haven't been under your influence. And that's still a challenge for me. The ones that were tortured, they never prosecuted these people. And this was homes for black children out of Detroit. They used to be on Calvert Street. They're downtown now. I hope that they're just doing a little better than what they did with my children. And I get kind of lost there. But anyways, it's different because you know these are my babies, but they don't feel like my children because of the separation. And they're not the same, and they've been told a lot. By black and white and paperwork, if you were to read some of the stuff that's been reported on me, some of it's true, but a lot of it has been inflamed. It's been taken out of character. And then you see me and you get to know me, and you'll see how refreshing and how vibrant I am and what a survivor I am. I should have been dead. I should not even be standing here within a good frame of mind. But I chose, instead than giving up, I chose to not become like those people that hurt me. I chose to be better so that I wouldn't take a life or do something stupid. Then I would be taking somebody's parent or somebody's sister or brother. And I didn't want to be like that. And then if I did that, I would never see my family again. So I chose to keep going. I didn't do it right all the time because I didn't understand mental illness and what I was going through. And I used alcohol. And I never was messed with in Detroit about it, but I tell you, they do not like people who are homeless and drunk. But they have a job to do, and I realize it's not easy, you know. But most of all, that led to a lot of disparity. I lost my job. Then I was in places where I actually had to climb up to 7 stories on the banister, on the balcony, in 30 degrees, 30 below wind chill factor, just to get in, because I am one of those people who, no matter where I go, I always find somebody who doesn't like me. But you know what? I'm gonna be me, and that's all I can be. So I would get in and get through the doors and go to my friend's house. Most people would probably be mortified by my friend Abdul. Well, it was because of his medicine. Sometimes Abdul had a little thing he would do, but it didn't bother me because Abdul was the best friend to me not because of his appearance, not because he had a lot of money, but he cared and he opened his door to me when I really needed a friend. But I want to thank Ground Cover News for being supportive of me, the people of Ground Cover News. I want to thank Peer to Peer, who I'm a peer-to-peer graduate. I want to thank Page Publishing for publishing my book. It's in the process. And I want to thank all of you for being here, and I could tell you part of my story. And it's a lot to say. But basically, being a woman and being homeless is very scary. You have to worry about where to sleep. And then when you're somewhere asleep, you don't sleep well because you don't want to be totally unaware of what's going on around you. Then you've got the task of where do I get groomed so that I am presentable to get a job. And things like what address do I use? Just basic things are a challenge. It's actually more expensive being homeless because most of the times you have to get a room or try to hustle money to get a room so you don't have to sleep in the cold if there's nowhere. A lot of shelters fill up that time of year. You have to worry about your things being stolen. You have the burden of carrying a lot of things around. And then if you want to go to a job interview, you've got to go back and store your things so that you don't have a backpack. So it's a lot to being homeless. It's a job within itself. So sometimes when you see people out and people are down, they might not smell that good. They may not have the best clothes. But sometimes you don't know what's going on with that person inside. And it's not always what it appears to be. You meet I've met so many people that I wouldn't imagined who they were. People open up to me. They just come up to me and pour out their hearts. And I'm very sensitive, even though I'm telling you my story. But it really touches me when other people share their stories with me and their experiences. And I just want to thank you all for being here. And we can help end homeless by just helping somebody that you see on the streets, because a little bit means a lot. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, LaShawn. Next up, we have James.
So how everybody doing? All right, cool. So I got a lot to say and not a lot of time to say it. So first, y'all want to hear me sing? Yes. All right, I can't actually sing, so I'm sorry for disappointing y'all. All right, I'm gonna hop straight into it. Let me start with some things that y'all first probably wouldn't have known about me, right? So I've been stabbed 3 times, inside of both of my legs and also inside of my side. I'm pretty sure that all of y'all should know that I've been like homeless just because like that's kind of the theme of the whole event here, right? So I'm gonna go back a little bit. When I was staying inside of the house with my mom, I think the last time I stayed with her, I was around like maybe 15 before I was put outside of the house. It's a very abusive household overall. Yeah, it was just very abusive. She drunk a lot, and when she came back and she was drunk, it was not the most pleasant of sights, holes in walls. There's been times where I was about to go to school the next morning, and I knew that she would bust in, so I pushed the drawer against the door, and she'll come in there and bust in through the drawer. And it was one time where I was running to catch the drawer because it was about to tip over. The TV fell on me, and I'm getting hit inside my head with like a belt. I'm like, I gotta leave. So that's when the whole journey first started. So I left when I was in high school, and I remember the first night when I actually left, and I was at the bus stop because I was getting off of work. I worked downtown Detroit at this place called Detroit Beer Co. across the street from the Opera House. I got off work, and I went to the bus stop, and I just stopped because I didn't know where I was going to go next. I slept on the curb. Only thing I had with me was my book bag, and I think because of that experience, I take my book bag with me everywhere I go, even if I don't actually need it, because I feel like that's just something I still haven't really detached myself from. I feel like no matter where I go, I'm still going to have this book bag. I'm going to tell y'all the beginning of a quote. It said, your life is composed of 100% from start to end. 10% is what happens to you. Y'all hear the rest of it later. So, so after a while, I started selling candy inside of school because I figured like, this job thing is just not enough. I still need to be able to create some more money. And I was selling it, since I was selling it inside of school, people think like, oh, James got so much money. James lived like a great life. And yeah, that's the appearance that I put on for everybody. I wore clothes like this all the time, so they never knew anything that was going on, because it's just like, I think it's just something inside of the black community, honestly, that you just don't want nobody to know that you hurt. So it's like, that was my mask. This was my mask, and I still wear it every single day. So when I went to school, people like, yeah, James got this nice phone, he dressed nice, he's selling candy, you see him with all of this money. And really what I was doing was trying to save up for a car because I knew that the winter was coming. So eventually I ended up getting a car just off like selling candy and working a job, and I slept inside the back of my car for my last 3 years of high school. I thought college was gonna be the big break, right? So you're gonna go to college, everything's gonna be beautiful and lovely, and you're gonna have Wi-Fi and pretty people and all that good stuff. Yeah, it kind of like that. So my freshman year, I go to Eastern, and during my, oh, okay, cool. So during my freshman year, I stayed in a hall known as Sellers Hall, and a break was coming up in which the dorms closed. Nobody told me about this. So everything on campus was going to be closed, and I didn't have no place to go, and I didn't know what I was going to do. Luckily, I was a part of this program called like the Brotherhood Scholars Program. And it's basically a program that was created to increase the male retention rate, the black male of color retention rate at the university, right? So I was able to link up with a couple of people who was there that I got to know as like actually being my brothers. And I told them what my situation was. I'm like, when the dorms close, I got no place I can go. I'm just stuck. Like, I'm gonna go back out there in my car. It's gonna be cold. I got nothing. He said, you can come stay with me. I said, all right, cool. So it worked out well. But then, okay. So I'm about to speed through some things. All right, so I ended up being homeless another time after I became like a RA. And I had to take my futon and put it in the back of my truck and use it as the bed that I was sleeping on. I eventually was able to get out of that situation, and it was just a long process of me overcoming obstacle after obstacle after obstacle. I broke things down into like 4 different phases of my life. The first phase was the trauma, which was actually being homeless. The second phase was just like cognitive dissonance, which is basically just like trying to escape your comfort zone, because I noticed even since I was so used to stressful environments, when I didn't have that stressful environment, I created it for myself. The third phase was just being aware of yourself and just trying to heal yourself. So inside of your brain, you have your own thought process, right? And you get to choose whether you pull out positive thoughts or negative thoughts. You pull out reasons why you can or why you can't do something. And then the fourth phase was just basically healing others. So after you are like able to heal yourself, then you have the ability to heal others. So I'm actually in this theater group at Eastern Michigan University known as Close Up. And they always preach that when you're on the stage telling your story, you got to remember that the story is about you, but it's not about you. And like when I'm telling the story now, it's not here for like me to just like put this out there as therapeutic. I'm doing this for somebody else that may be in the crowd who either need help or want to help somebody else. And since this is like the last bit of my time, I'm gonna give you the ending part of the quote. So, your life is composed of 100% from start to end. The first 10% is what happens to you. The other 90% is how you react to it. Don't make a snap judgment of a snapshot of somebody's life. That 10% that you see is not the entirety.
Thank you, James. Next up, we have Robert. Come on, Robert.
I'm moving kind of slow here. I'll explain that in a little bit. But my name is Robert Lee Mitchell, Bob Mitchell, and a lot of people call me Buffalo. I'll explain that in a little bit too. I'm here today not representing MAP, but I am a grateful recipient of their benevolence. I've been homeless 3 times, and all 3 times it was due to nobody's fault but my own. For the past 25 years or so, I was earning upwards of 6 figures, probably mid-range. I accomplished a lot. I put my kids through college. During my second marriage, I built a beautiful home out in Sterling Heights. I ascended to the heights of the UAW. I ran boldly for elections, and I won. When that marriage ended, I lost a lot. Not because it was taken, because we had no children, because I gave it. I gave up the home. I guess chivalry is not dead, right? I gave up my brand new 2012 Durango Citadel, top of the line. It'll blow your nose for you. I paid cash for it. I gave my ex half of my earnings, half of my Social Security, and half of my pension, which will soon be over in November of next year. So that's going to double my income. But even with that, I had enough finances to sustain me. What happened was, I woke up out of that fog and said, what are you doing? I gave up a house that I built basically with my own hands. I gave up my brand new retirement gift to myself, a 2012 Durango Citadel. I gave up half of my wages that I worked all my life for. And I became depressed. I went on a lot of conventions to Vegas as a UAW rep. I spoke at a lot of conventions. Like I said, I was making real good money. Real good money. And I was living high on the hog. Some might say I was in the top 1% to 2% of the earners in this nation. And while in Vegas, I watched many of my constituents could hardly make the meetings because they were at the tables or the slot machine trying to get that money. And they had a panicked look on their face when they lost their money. But I never gambled until 9/11. Being a vet, on 9/11, I felt vulnerable. I didn't think this country was that vulnerable. It made me sick to my stomach. And so what I did, I put my alternate on the floor. I left work, and for some reason, I ended up at Greektown. At Greektown, I went to the ATM machine. I took out $500. 27 hours later, I walked out with $47,862. I was hooked. So when my wife and I split, and I realized how much I gave up, I said, that's okay, I'll go back to the tables. That was successful. So the half of the wages I was getting, which was still good money, almost $2,500 a month, I gambled. And when I say gamble, I mean gamble. I take $2,400 and sit down and lose it all. Sometimes I take $200 and win $4,000. So I was living like that from pillar to post. But that demon will catch up with you. No matter what you think you're doing, it'll catch up with you. So I was homeless once, and I stayed at the Detroit Rescue Mission. I was homeless twice, and I stayed at the Salvation Army in Monroe. And I was homeless just 2 weeks ago. And I ran into a group of folks called MAP, Michigan Alliance Partnership. Am I right? Huh? Okay, Michigan Ability Partnership. In other words, angels. So within 2 weeks, excuse me, within 2 weeks, I'm in an apartment in downtown Ann Arbor because of their benevolence. So over the past, I don't know, 10 months, I've been doing nothing but running into blessings. I was stricken with rheumatoid arthritis. I was crippled. I couldn't get out of bed. I couldn't clean myself. I couldn't roll over. The pain was so excruciating. You know, I almost went RuPaul, and I'm all man. That's how bad a shape I was in. I had a heart operation within that time frame. They went in and placed my large flap, I guess that's called a big aorta. It was called a non-invasive operation. They go through your side, and they gave me a pig flap. So every once in a while, like I got Tourette's, I'll say oink. Okay? But through all of that, I'm gonna tell you what happens. When God allowed me to be dysfunctional, it's when I became functional. When I was at my lowest point is when I ascended to the highest heights. The relationship between me and my middle daughter was strained. But when she heard her daddy was down and almost out, my child literally ran to me. And she put her healing hands on me. And she hugged me, tried to get in the damn bed with me. And she showed me the kind of love that I always had for her. So God healed that. My oldest daughter, who's out in California, and I'm blessed because she married a hell of a guy, an ex-Marine. I'm a vet too. His name is Rael Sims. And even though she's 2,000 miles away, I don't even worry about her. That's how much this guy loves her. And because he loves her that way, I love him that way. So, I mean, I go bankrupt just trying to get on the plane and go out there and check the guy every 2 weeks. It's too far. I went out and gave her away. That was 14 years ago. And she's just a blessed child. I call her my beating heart. Now, to make a long story short, benevolence is what I have been receiving for the past 10 months. I was crippled. I know I'm walking slow, but here I stand before you. I had a bad valve, and they fixed it right away. I went through the therapy sessions. I had to go to rehab. When I got put out of rehab, it was because my Blue Cross Blue Shield ran out. So I wasn't dealing with the VA. I was dealing with private doctors because, like I said, I worked all my life. But I never received the kind of care that I received at the Veterans Administration. I am grateful. I'm grateful because at my lowest point, they treated me like the king that I am. And they healed me from the inside out. Now I want to try to stay inside this time frame and just tell everybody this. As long as you know who you are, it doesn't matter what anybody else thinks. It was God who said that as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. So I stand before you today to tell you that I am all of that. A bag of chips with a side of premium dip. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you. I know there's some folks that are standing, but if you're sitting next to a seat that's open, if you just wave your hand so some folks can sit down. There's all parts. Don't all rush in, but there's room for you. All right, next up we have DJ. Where is he? Where's DJ? Where did he go? Oh, there he is.
Hello. Okay. Yep. I knew that. Hello. I'm DJ. I'm really not good at speaking engagements. Bear with me. But I'm here to tell you the story of my weird time of homelessness. About 3 years ago, I was kicked out of my dad's house. I was a senior in high school. We all know being a senior in high school, that's probably the most weirdest time of your life. You don't know what you're doing for college or prom, or if you're going to prom, and with who. And it was a lot of family issues before I was even born that just grew, and it was like a bad molded sundae. I ended up getting kicked out. I didn't move in with my sister. She just came and picked me up and was like, well, where are you gonna go next? Because you can't stay here because we siblings, we can't live in the same house. So I'm in distress, and I'm not from Michigan, so being out on the streets of Michigan, I don't know how to maneuver that. So as I'm thinking, I call a friend of mine, and she's like, well, there's this place called Ozone House. I'm like, I don't like help from people I don't know. I don't know what an Ozone House is, really. And she was just like, they help, kids in need and teens in need. I was like, well, they don't want me, I'm militant. So I ended up calling the crisis line. I talked to somebody on the phone. They pretty much asked about my situation. I told them pretty much I'm down and out, and I don't have anything. I wasn't making enough to even sustain an apartment in this horrible economy. So I get the meeting with the intake manager, the intake coordinator. As that's going on, I got an interview with a prospect of a job at fast food. Mind you, I'm a big man. You can't be working at fast food. It's just not gonna work. So as I go to the intake, I find out about their Miller House program, which is like their transitional living program, and you live with people you have no clue of who they are before you go in. I had no other choice, so I went. And as we pull up to this random house, I'm just like, oh, this is real. I'm about to be living with like 7 other people. I have no clue who they are. They could be crazier than me. I don't want to do this. Can I go home? Can I do a redo? A click? I need I need Bruce Almighty. I don't know. As I walk into this house, I'm just overwhelmed, and they're telling me, oh, well, we have all these things. We're gonna help you grow your money so you can, when you're done with the program, you can go on and get your own apartment. I'm like, this sounds all good, but something just, I'm having the trust issue that in the African American community, we need to stop having so much pride and just take handouts sometimes, because they're trying to help you. And I'm just in here like, yeah, y'all lying. This is too good to be true. What I gotta do? Sell my soul? What's wrong? It's the ozone house, so I gotta mess up the ozone layer? Like, I'm bad at science, so I might help it on accident. So as I'm sitting in this house full of people, I have no clue who they are. Everybody's like, oh, hi. I'm like, being a super introvert, like, I don't want to be here. Don't talk to me. Don't touch me, please. They're warm and welcoming, and I'm not used to that, because where I come from, we ain't warm and welcoming in New York sometimes. So it's just, it's kind of weird. Just like, why y'all so happy? What is this, The Shining? I was there for almost a year. I worked 2 part-time jobs because I was trying to get out of there fast as possible. And it was just an eye-opening experience, and I still felt homeless in my mind, even though I had a place to go at night. I had a place, I had heat, I had things that some of the like people that are on the streets don't have. And it was like just a eye-opening experience, and it showed me that, one, I'm more of a people person than I think, because I'm low-key an introvert, and I don't like meeting new people, like, at all. And I just learned that to stop yourself from blocking your own blessings is to, one, put your pride aside and just be yourself, and just, allow random people to, just give you the assistance that you need, but you don't want to take because you don't know them. And it's just, I've been working with them ever since. Now I'm a part of Speak Out and their Pride Zone, and I was a chef at the drop-in center for the youth because I want to give back, and I grew up going to places like Peace Neighborhood Center. So it was a great experience, and that's why I came here today, to share my story, so for people that want to help others, or others that have been in the same experience, we can relate. I understand. And for the most part, just not everybody is the person on the corner with the sign and the marker. I don't have that good of handwriting to do that anyway. Yeah.
Thank you. Seth, you're up. Let's welcome Seth.
Hello, my name is Seth Best. I have been in Ann Arbor now for about 10 years. I was born in Lansing, lived there until I was 7, moved to Texas, moved to Germany, moved to England, back to Texas, Louisiana, Michigan. Michigan's home, I don't ever want to leave. In that journey, when I was 4 years old, was the first time I ever told anybody that I was a boy. I got slapped in the face. When I was in 2nd grade, I wrote on my legs, "I'm a boy." Everywhere that I wrote, "I'm a boy," my dad crossed it out and wrote, "You're a girl." I am transgendered. When I became homeless in 2007, I had gotten fired from a job in 2006 because I'm trans. I was able to float Y for about a year, year and a half. I became homeless down in Dallas, Texas. I was not allowed to go even enter into a homeless shelter because of the letter that's on my driver's license. A friend of mine lived in Louisiana, said, hey, why don't you come out here? You might have a better chance. I did, I didn't. At least I got to eat in Louisiana. I was able to, somebody gave me information about a job on the coast, but because I had lost my license in the interim, they wouldn't take me. I ended up walking and hitchhiking from the Gulf Coast up to Baton Rouge, which was about 50 miles. I've always been big, so walking that many miles along with hitchhiking took out a lot out of me. When I got there, most of the shelters wouldn't take me because they, without even knowing anything more of my story other than the fact that I didn't have an ID, they weren't going to let me in. People, there was when I got into Baton Rouge, I made a sign that said, need direction, and I was serious about it. It wasn't trying to make money or anything like that. This couple stopped and they said, where they tried to hand me money. I'm like, no, I have no idea where I'm at. I don't know where this is at. Can you please tell me where a shelter's at? And they didn't know, but they said, well, why don't you come? We'll let you sleep in our car overnight and we'll get you to a shelter in the morning. And they were true to their word. The next morning, I get to the shelter, they start doing the intake, they start asking me about drug use and alcohol use and, things like that. And then I said, it looked like everything was going all right. Then they said, we demand that you take a shower every day. And I said, well, is there a curtain? And because I asked that question, they went back to the director, and I was told, you look too much like a man for us to put you with the women, and because you do not have a penis, we cannot put you with the men. I was trying to get to Ann Arbor because the Delana shelter at the time in 2008 was one of the few shelters that would accept you as you were. I was able to come here. And I got to be treated as the man that I know I am. Through those struggles of my life of trying to become my authentic self, and along with having major depression, dyslexia, ADHD, social anxiety, general anxiety, and I'm sure there's other things that a very qualified diagnostician would have just a field day with of trying to figure out me. It's made it difficult to get the help that you really need. Because so often, the answer is always no. No, you can't sleep here. No, you can't eat that. You can't ask for money there. You can't do this. Homelessness is a process. You just don't wake up one day and you don't have someplace, generally speaking. Even though sometimes it does feel like it happens overnight, it doesn't. To get out of homelessness, it's a process. Two things that I've seen recently that really have me upset: end homelessness, end poverty. Being homeless is not this bad, cancerous thing that you need to get rid of. Meet me there. Find out about how I survive. Being poor shouldn't be a bad thing. It shouldn't be about ending these things. It should be about adding comfort, being able to support each other. I have my art here tonight, and I am starting a project, and I'm hoping to make it bigger. And I'm calling it Hearts. The H is in parentheses, because that H can be homeless, it can be help, it can be humble, it can be highlighting different issues. And I'm going to share my art and have conversations. Normally, you'll find me at Liberty at Tripper's Alley in Ann Arbor, and I'll be painting on the streets. And normally, I give my paintings away, but I need some help. And that's why my paintings are being sold tonight. But really and truly, everything that I have for sale is negotiable. And what I'm hoping for is that in my journey of homelessness, and I know I'm out of time, but just real quick, was a co-founder of Camp Take Notice. We were a small group that started with about, well, there was 3 of us that started it. Then it grew to, at its max, we had 80 tents. We had a reason for that. You know, this week they're going to, on the campuses, there's going to be tents that are going to be set up to engage people in conversation. If it wasn't for the fact that it was going to be at U of M and at Eastern on the college campuses, if you were to set up a tent, you get arrested. We criminalized just the need of sleep. We criminalized the need of eat. When you're down and out, when you're, you know, we heard from people who've been part either in the foster care system, 50% of kids who are in the foster care system at some point in their life are gonna be homeless. If a youth is GLBT, they are 120% more likely than their straight counterparts to experience homelessness. We've got to do something. We got to meet people where they're at. We got to make that part a little bit more comfortable. We need to not criminalize sleeping. We need to not criminalize using the bathroom. We need to not criminalize basic needs. And every community that has anti-camping laws are against homelessness, against people's basic needs. And each and every person in this room has the power to be able to stop that criminalization. Talking to your city council members, talking to your state senators, your state congressmen, all the way up. Each and every one of you have that power, because me, as a poor person, as a trans person, my life is suspect and therefore doesn't count. It's you guys that have the power. Thank you.
Thank you, Seth. Thank you. Miss Sharon, you're up. Miss Sharon. Let's give a round of applause for Miss Sharon.
Don't want to do that. I did a speech. Let me get this back up here. It's trying to come to. Excuse that noise. Guess I turn it up like this. By my mouth, can you hear me? I'm a little bit short, ain't I? I think I shrunk a little bit in the last year. I think that's at the level. Yep, that's comfortable. Hi, my name is Sharon McLaughlin. Last year I did a speech at the coffee house. I went to Lansing not too long ago, and I went to Lansing and I read my story. That was neat. I'm 62, almost 62 years old next month. I am so privileged to be here and share my story about being homeless. I lived in Kalamazoo, Michigan for 25 years. Some of the time, I did have my own place, but I got homeless through my own doing, okay? I got on drugs. I got to hanging around people, which kind of was a little bit weird. I started being around people for people to care for me and want me in their house. A lot of people wanted me in their house, but it wasn't none like my own, okay? And I'm kind of getting thrown off because I'd be a little bit nervous. I started staying with friends and sometimes in vacant houses, which was very scary. I have SLE, which is lupus, and there's numerous other things to go with it. But I don't give up, okay? I keep on going. People say, why don't you sit down? Is that a word? Okay. If I sit down, I feel like I'm not gonna be able to get back up. If I sleep too long, it's like I'm not gonna be able to get back up, okay? I get depressed. I have MGUS, which could turn into cancer. It's not too often that people have 2 autoimmune deficiency diseases. You hear my voice and it's a little bit rattly, because going back to what I went through with doing drugs, my health deteriorated. I would end up in the hospital, and I ended up in a place called the Kalamazoo Gospel Mission. I've been back here about 15 years because I was on my deathbed, and I know U of M, where I had my 2 kids at, was a pretty good hospital. And maybe I could get somewhere, okay? But while I was still in Kalamazoo, I ended up going to the hospital because of my asthma. I got tired of having asthma attacks and I didn't understand why. But they kept on telling me, maybe it's because of the use of drugs. I did crack cocaine, I drank, never was too strong or nothing. I ended up at a doctor's office up there in Kalamazoo where they have this big old statue and they have Martin Luther King up in that park and they have a drop-in center. I went between the drop-in center and the Kalamazoo Gospel Mission and messing around with people that I shouldn't have. Okay, being at the Kalamazoo Gospel Mission taught me a lot because they act like they cared for me. I went and I was homeless, and I came and I went to the hospital, and when I went back to the Kalamazoo Gospel Mission, begging them to please help me. They said, you don't have to beg. We kind of like you. Every time you come here, you helped us. You volunteer everywhere. You help us cook, you help us do the clothes, you help us do all that. Now we're getting ready to help you. I was about in tears, okay? But I was confused. My self-esteem went down because of what I went through, okay? And so once I went to the Kalamazoo Gospel Mission, somebody took me to the rehab where I wanted to go. They told me, if you make it here today within 2 hours, we'll take you in. I stayed in the back. Everybody else I seen go to the tables, to the living room, and go and eat and everything to the dining room. But I had to stay back there in the beds where I was at because I had so much of that crack cocaine and everything else, and my self-esteem going down, that I couldn't stop running. I just get out of my bed and just run up and down the hall. It was like somebody was after me because the last time that I did do crack then, I felt like somebody was after me and they were chasing me, and I dug a hole in the ground and buried the crack and everything else, okay? I tried to even bury my mind because I figured it was messed up, okay? But Kalamazoo Gospel Mission, after I got out of rehab, hired me, okay? They said, we want you to be a women's supervisor. I was a women's supervisor, plus I did classes for them and everything. And I came back up here, like I said, because my health was real bad, okay? So when I came back up here, I was still considered as homeless. I stayed with relatives, but ain't nothing like having your own, okay? And I've been with Avalon for 9 years where I live at. I'm an upstanding member of the community. I'm in vocal leadership group. I cook for the kids twice a week. I do pantry, and for all the events I cook because I used to be a chef, okay? And I want to thank you guys for all that, Avalon especially, and everywhere else, for all that you do for people. All you got to do is ask, okay? And once I got into Avalon, Avalon has made my self-esteem come up, and it has done so much for me. It's just too much, okay? I got in a little bit of trouble here and there, but I crawled out of that too. You crawl before you walk, and you could crawl again, okay? Because I went back into drugs. And Avalon made me be able to crawl out of that hole that I dug myself in. And I want to thank you guys for listening to my story. And I hope people that has not been homeless before can understand what it means to be homeless. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Sharon. Next up, we have Joe. I just heard a...
Toothpick is out of my mouth. I hate the way my voice sounds on the microphone and so forth. My name is Joe Woods. I'm a ground cover vendor. My story is, I guess it's unique because when I became a vendor, I wasn't homeless. I needed ground cover for a different reason. But just a little history about me. I'm from Detroit, Michigan originally, from 7 Mile. And the way I grew up back in the 80s was considered a dysfunctional home. I was raised by a single parent, my mother, which was a lesbian. So I was kind of raised different than most children was. I'm spoiled rotten, for one. I got everything I wanted as a child, and to this day, if I really want it, I'm gonna get it. That's how I was raised. I played football, but due to me wanting to hang with the fellas and doing other stuff, I started selling drugs. So I messed up a scholarship to sell drugs. 93, last year, I'm class of 92, supposedly. I was on a 5-year plan. Class of 93, my second semester I was supposed to graduate, I left Detroit, moved to California to pursue a career in sales. And to be real, I left Detroit because I was scared for my life because of the stuff I was doing at the time. All my friends around me were dying, getting shot, going to jail, and I didn't want to be a statistic. So I'm gonna keep it going because I get lost for words sometimes. I took a career in sales. I traveled as a salesperson. I did door-to-door sales for 6 years. I was very successful at it. I got married, and at the age of 24, I started doing drugs. I started smoking crack. So I lost everything within like not even a year span, okay? Became homeless. Even through my addiction, I always maintained a job. I always worked. I never really did this honest stuff except for the drug selling when I was doing it. And I used to do like credit card scams back in the day, which I went to prison for and did my time for that. Okay, now getting back to subject. When I got to Michigan, I moved back to Michigan from North Carolina because my mother almost died. She was in a car accident and she almost died. I had my career down there because I had got myself clean and got myself back on my feet and was working for a local paper company in Winston-Salem, North Carolina called the Winston-Salem Journal. I dropped everything at the drop of a dime to come help my mother. You know, I basically was like, you know what, I'm gone. She called me, and in like 2 days, I was on a Greyhound here. Just left everything. I was going through some spiritual battles when I first got back, being freshly getting clean off of drugs and just going through the whole thing with my mom and so forth. And that's when I met Susan Beckett, Ground Cover News. And I needed that for my spirituality because it helped me stay on the right track so I don't go back to doing stupid stuff. You know, I needed to get outside of Joe. Did that make sense? To better myself. So I started helping vendors and started, you know, getting a little bit more active within the organization. Now, I was homeless twice. Once because of my stupidity, bad choices, smoking crack and not being responsible. The second, the one I'm gonna talk about, was really not my fault. I became homeless because I chose to become homeless, okay? Which is a good reason. Everything happened for a reason, bad or good. What you feel is bad, you just gotta find the good in it. And I'm about to tell you now. 3 years ago, I went on vacation. I've been a ground cover vendor 8 years now, okay? I sell $10 papers in Ann Arbor, Michigan. Just to let y'all know, I have some featuring that lady right there. They are $10 a piece, so when we finish, just make sure you have a $10 bill ready. And I do accept debit and credit cards, so for those who didn't bring cash, it's okay. Y'all still can buy one. I went on vacation. I was a roommate with a guy that I know. I was paying him rent to sleep on his couch, okay? I was very happy, very content, was saving money, able to do stuff. Everything was peaceful. I come back from vacation, hadn't been home not even 15 minutes. Another one of our roommates and myself got into an altercation because they like drama. We ended up getting into a fight. Me and my brother beat him up in the kitchen, you know. So I left. My landlord, he didn't want me to leave. I was like, no, I'm gone. I can't live somewhere where I'm not comfortable at. So I became homeless on my own, paying for hotel rooms. It was rough. I was paying $1,400 a month at the day's end, which I thank God for that because it made me the man I am now. Stuff is either going to make you or break you, okay? And it boosted my game up on being more responsible because even though I was paying $1,400 a month, that was okay with me because I was living by myself, which that was God giving me that push. Joe, get your butt out there, get your own, okay? You better than what you're doing renting someone's couch. Even though, yeah, it may be comfortable for you, but no, I got more in store for you for that. So with that, made me work harder to make more money, to keep the lifestyle that I like to keep up, because I like to shop and so forth. And to this day, it's because of that situation, me getting into it with one of my roommates, housemates, is why I'm able to still live by myself today, okay? And not wanting to live with other people. Now, right now, my life is kind of not my life right now. I do caregiving work for my uncle. He's dying of COPD on oxygen and so forth. So I basically revolve my life around him right now, okay, until he go to heaven. Then I'll pursue with my life. But to get back to topic, people think of a person being homeless is always due to drugs, due to alcohol. Yeah, that may be true in some cases, but meeting people that I met through the time I've been living, most of these people were well-educated people, had degrees, had it good. But for whatever reason, life threw them a curveball. And life throw us curveballs to test us, to see what you really made of. And this is how I take it. Sales taught me a lot. I thank God for, I eventually got my GED, GTCC, class of 2002, Greensboro, North Carolina. So, you know, but I was far from dumb. I'm a geek. I'm a science geek. You know, I kept a 3.0 average. All my scores were high. They looked at me like, what do you, I said, I decided to leave my last semester. I just left. So, and this is what this is right now, okay? I thank God for ground cover, because ground cover help keeps me grounded in reality, basically, because people look down on homeless people. They always think the worst. And talking to people, most of these people became homeless out of control that they couldn't even, it wasn't their fault, you know? And I'm bad at explaining. I get very nervous in front of people, so y'all got to bear with me here. I just basically want to say everything happened for a reason. Even with the drugs, like with the drugs, I started doing drugs at the age of 24. I lost a business. I made $1 million legally before I turned 24, okay, going door to door. I was hood rich before I was 17. Hood rich is like making $100,000 selling drugs and so forth. But I asked my mom, I said, Mom, why me? Me of all people, why did I have to start smoking crack? Why? And then you know what my mother told me? Which it gave me chills now. She was like, you know something, son? God had you do that so maybe you can be a blessing to someone else that's in that situation. And I was like, I thought, it baffled me for a minute, but then I thought about it, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, that's true, because if someone's going through an addiction, if they haven't been there, can't nobody tell them how to do it. You know what I'm saying? You have to be able to, you have to walk in their shoes. And by me being on that side of the stick, I know what it feels like for someone to be going through that, because I went through that, you know? Being from a spoiled, rotten kid, getting whatever he want, making good money. I come from a good family. My mom owned her own businesses and all that. You know, I had businesses. So we wasn't raised from the projects or nothing like that. We stayed in middle, upper class America, you know? And to become homeless due to drugs was something totally different, because my mind was foggy and I was kind of lost going through my spiritual battle, okay? And I gotta make it quick because she's giving me the red flag. And like, just real quick, with ground cover helped, really helped mold me, because with me getting outside of myself, wanting to help other people, and you know, working on mentoring them, that just made me a better person. You know, call it selfish, however you want to do it, but it is what it is. And I just want to say one thing: keep the faith, and always, no matter what you go through, it's good in it. Just don't dwell on the bad, and the good will come out, because becoming homeless, not on my own, was a bad thing at first, but it was a good thing because now I'm independent. Sorry.
Thank you. Next up is we have Ramon Williams. Come on up, Ramon. We have 2 more speakers.
Thanks, sir. All right. So I'm kind of a theorist. So I'm like, can I hold the mic here and still hold the phone? Because let's be honest, I wrote this in like a day. But we're gonna hold the mic, and I'm just gonna feel comfortable, because one thing I had to learn was appreciate and love the things I do like about myself. And if I don't like those things, then I forgive myself for those and accept them. And that's one thing that's helped me be who I am, learn more about myself, and walk into this world where I feel like I'm rejected, but still feel good about myself. And I wanted her to use my full name because I love my name. I remember one time I was like, I may have been like 8 or something like that, and I wanted to change my first name. I said, I don't like Ramon. I want to be named Kevin, right? Kevin. And Kevin's a decent name. But like thinking about it now, I felt like I wasn't included with everybody else. There was something different about me. I often tell people that I feel like I'm in a different dimension than other people. And you know, more that I've learned about myself, more that I appreciate things, the more I've been able to come back to reality and say, you know what? People may do you wrong. You may go through these issues like homelessness, but you know what? You are still you, and no one else can be that person, so take pride in that. So December 17th, 2015, I think that was the date, an article came out about me. It said something like, hey, this is the day in the life of Ramon. He's going to school and he's homeless. You know, not all bad. And I did not expect that article to get the attention that it did. I just really wanted people to hear me. I wanted people to hear my story. I wanted people to go and say, Ramon Williams, you know what? You're a strong guy. You're a good guy. You know what? I see value in you. Because truth is, I didn't see much value in myself. I needed that validation. But I wanted to tell my story because I felt like I can create a change for other people who don't feel empowered and that they can get the help that they need. But it had to start with me, because if I'm not here, I can't help other people. And then I did something that I should not have done, and no sane person should do. I read the MLive comments, right? So I'm going through the comments and I'm reading like, this guy has an Obama phone, which it was not, by the way. And even if it was, so what? And then like, you know, he chose this route, which I did, but the fact that I had to choose school over shelter was the problem. There should be more in place when people are at risk of homelessness than there is. There's this stigma, there's this taboo thing. Oh, homelessness looks like that dude on the corner. No, it doesn't. It looks like me, it looks like James, it looks like the twins, it looks like a lot of different things. It could be you or I, and it could happen at any moment. But I read a comment on there, and it said something like, you know, instead of just throwing money at the guy, we should actually give him the help that he needs. And I really wanted to disagree with that statement because I needed that money. I needed every cent of that money. But it's true, because money is not organic. It's not a person. It's not something you can go to for comfort. It's there to help you get it. But you can't get it without other people and other support. And I felt like I didn't have that yet. So, you know, throughout all the help, and I appreciated all of the help, but it still feels like I don't quite have the support that I need, that I'm one bad decision away from everything being taken away again. I can't trust anybody. Connections are futile, right? And that's one thing I want to create change for. There should be more support for anyone who has an ailment or a problem or an issue, and they can talk to somebody to give them the help that they need. Everyone shouldn't be on the brinks fighting for survival. It should be innate in all of us. We should always have it. And let's be real, like, you got a town nearby in Ann Arbor, they have a fetish for building these expensive high-rises. But they know the people on the corner of like Liberty and State by name. Homes are less secure than the homeless, and that is not okay. We should have housing for every homeless person when they need it, so they can transition to the life that they want. But I wish I could stay where I really do. Like, I want to be myself, but it's hard because, like, there's this pressure. It's like a pressure cooker. Like, anything could go wrong at any moment. I need to watch myself or someone's going to take something from me. I have no support, no connection. I don't have that backing that a lot of people have. I don't have that family. I don't have the friends. There should be something in place to help people like me when I feel like I have nothing. Homelessness made me a shell of myself. It did. I didn't have this plight all of my life. I didn't have issues like depression and anxiety all of my life. I developed that when I realized that when we grow up, people go this way and people go that way, and I'm by myself. But the one thing that's helped me is taking pride in myself. Sometimes that's not enough, and that's why I'm working with Ozone House to push for people even younger than me who have the same issues as me to say that these people should not be going through these issues. There should be something in place if they want to leave home and they need more shelter. So if I had to leave with something, I say build more homes and end homelessness, all of it.
Thank you, Ramon. And we have one more speaker, Carvel. Come on up.
Hi. I'm not the phone guy. My phone's on 3%, so I'm going to try to get through this really, really quickly. In this season, I want to be thankful, first off, to MAPS, Eric, Dina. They are one of the best programs that I've encountered through the VA. I know I give them a lot of slack sometimes, but I wanted to make sure that I thank them first. Like I said, my name is Carvel. I grew up in Flint. It's my Flintstone tie. I served in the Army from 2001 to 2007, and I am a homeless veteran. They say that there's a quote that says the true measure of a man is not what he has, but what he is willing to give. Shit. Sorry, I'm nervous. My phone's not cooperating. Shit. Sorry. While being homeless has not been I'm going to just read about, oh man, God dang it. While being homeless has not been the worst situation in my life, it has been the most humbling. I thought I was humble before, but I wasn't. I'm a better person now, I'm in a better position, but I'm better than where I was, but I'm not where I want to be. I'm not where I used to be. So I often explain my homelessness by saying that it was due to a series of unfortunate events. I went from being 100% self-sustaining to basically homeless and living outside my broken down car in the wintertime in Detroit, Michigan, last year. As independent as I am, now I've been forced to rely on strangers and other people to do simple things just to get by, for the first time ever. Again, homelessness has taught me a lot of things. It's taught me humbleness, it's taught me humility, most importantly, it's taught me humanity. I'll never again look down on someone who needs help or anything like that. My phone died. My grandmother used to always say, she's like, I might not have any money for you, but I'll feed you. And a lot of times that's all it takes. And I still, to this day, I have that same attitude about me. I might not have money, but I'll definitely make sure you get something to eat if I can. And if I can't give you food or water, I'll make sure that I can at least give you kindness, because it goes a long way. There's an artist Pablo Picasso said that said that the purpose of life is to find your gift and to give it away. I have some of my art up here. My art is, some of it may seem simple, but I painted everything for a reason. I did it the way I did it for a reason. I'm not going to describe them all right now because I'm really nervous, more than I thought it would be. But just know that everything's for sale and negotiable. I am a starving artist. But like I was saying, the true measure of a man is not what he has, but what he's willing to give. And if you buy my art, just know that you are getting a glimpse of just my soul, my heart, and everything that I can ever give to humanity. And just be kind to people at the end of the day. You never know what someone is going through. You never know who they are. And everyone in this room has a story. Thank you.
Thank you to all of our speakers. That was incredible. I hope you enjoyed their stories and want to connect with them afterwards. This is the end of our official program. Thank you all for being here. The Washtenaw Housing Alliance really wants to reach out to all of you. We do a lot of public education and advocacy, and if you want more information, please sign up in the back behind the art for our newsletter, where you can get more information about what we do and all of the agencies in this room and others that aren't here do in the housing and homelessness. Just two things for you. Also, thanks to our artists and other vendors that donated their time. We forgot to mention thanks to Zingerman's for the treats, so thank you, Zingerman's. And lastly, we're a small operation here, and we are like 2 staff. So if everybody could take their own chair, if you are able, and put it over here on one of these stands. That's where all the chairs have to get stacked afterwards, and we have to get out of here by 9. So if you could do that, that's very helpful to all of us, and we appreciate your time. Thank you.